Welcome to Thursday Thoughts, your weekly dose of real, honest conversation on all things personal growth. These are the chats Lucy and I love having every week over on Instagram. They're unfiltered, unedited, and always rooted in practical tools and a dose of inspiration. Let's dive in. Anyway, I'm here. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, love. How are you?
Yeah, good. How was your trip? Was it amazing? It was incredible.
It was fabulous. Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, God, I got back a week ago, so it already feels like. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. But I mean, it was only a very short trip. We were there for 5 days, but it was awesome. It was really, really great. Yeah, I mean, Iceland is amazing. It's and we saw incredible northern lights.
I mean, they looked fantastic. You don't always get to see them.
We were unbelievably lucky. I cannot say that enough. Like, we were so lucky. And the funny thing is that actually I had been told, because as you know, it was a collaboration with Explore Worldwide, and I'd had an email from somebody at Explore about 2 days before we left, or even the day before we left, saying, it's not looking great for Northern Lights, because this was a Northern Lights Explorer trip. That's what it was actually called. And there was never any guarantee of seeing the Northern Lights, because you obviously can't guarantee it, which feeds into our conversation about nature. But anyway, so I said to the girls on the trip, look, I've been told it's unlikely. And when we got there, a couple of people had said people had sort of been, following whatever apps or websites and saying, it's very unlikely. Anyway, long story short, it was only our second night there. And we'd just driven to this hotel in the middle of nowhere, this amazing hotel called the Gullfoss Hotel, which was just literally in the middle of nowhere. And we were getting ready to go out for supper. And our amazing guide, we had such an incredible guide called Einar, who was just absolute legend bloke, 67-year-old man, amazing. Wow. Just like literally, he really made the trip. Anyway, he was like, we need to go outside because there's signs of the Northern Lights. So anyway, we all kind of ran out of the hotel, and there they were. But what is so funny is that he'd been saying to us, look, when you are searching for Northern Lights, like, they can appear for 3 seconds and then disappear, and then you might not see them again at all night, or they can appear for 20 minutes over there, and then they'll disappear, and then they might come back an hour later. Anyway, so he's sort of really been managing expectations. And then we drove to where we were having supper, and actually we had the most amazing meal, one of the best meals I think I've ever had in my life, in this hotel in the middle of God knows, in this restaurant rather, in the middle of God knows where. And just as we were about to start paying the bill, Einar again was like, the Northern Lights are back. So we all ran out of the hotel, ran out of the restaurant. Anyway, then in the end, as we were driving back to our hotel, we could see them, they were covering the whole sky. Wow. And literally, they just got better and better and better and better. And we were like up till gone midnight, just as they sort of moved and changed. And I mean, it's staggering. And actually, amazing. This kind of leads quite nicely into our topic of the day. And just to say that when you sent me a message, like as Polly and I often do, one of us will send a message like half an hour before going, any ideas? And we're like, So when you messaged me, I was out on my walk, and I saw and it's funny because I took my phone out thinking, shit, I better message Polly and say any ideas. And then there was your message going, any ideas? And as I was walking along, I just suddenly thought about, nature. I was like, well, because I was racking my brains to think of a topic. And as I mentioned to you in our messages, I yesterday saw a beautiful, beautiful kingfisher on my walk. And it was this pouring rainy day. It was a horrible day, but I'd gone out for a walk yesterday morning and seen this incredible kingfisher. And going back to the Northern Lights and nature in general, I just think that times at the moment, the world at the moment, I know the world is always crazy, but I feel like it might, dare I say, be particularly crazy at the moment. And there are things going on that I just feel really, really, really off the charts, terrifying. Not least what is happening with ice in America, which is just scaring the absolute shit out of me. And I'm sure a lot of other people. It's just unbelievable. And I just thought that it would be interesting or a good idea to talk about the fact that when the world does seem crazy, the one thing we can kind of cling on to is nature, and the fact that there is always something bigger than us, bigger than anyone. And I think that it can be really helpful if you're feeling really scared and if you're feeling really disheartened to go and intentionally spend time in nature. And it might sound really silly, but seeing the Northern Lights or seeing a fucking incredible kingfisher, it puts what is happening in the world in perspective, because it reminds us that we are just these humans. We are not the only things occupying this planet. And I really think that it does help to remind ourselves that ultimately we, as humans, we think we're in control. And you know what? We ain't. We are not in control. So I just think that it's really worth thinking about that. And somehow observing the nature around you and really kind of just immersing yourself in nature if you can. Obviously not everybody can, but many of us can. But if you can immerse yourself in nature, it really does help to, I think, regulate your nervous system ultimately. Because some of the stuff that we're seeing, you know, that's one of the disadvantages that we all have videos on our phone. Like, we are seeing stuff that we shouldn't be seeing, or we probably wish we weren't seeing. And it screws with our nervous system, as you know, because, you know, you're all about breath work and nervous system regulation. And nature is one of the best ways of bringing our nervous system back into balance. And I'm going to mention a quote. I think I did a whole podcast episode on this quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. And I'm sure you and I have talked about it here before. And it says, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive." And I love that so much, because ultimately what that is saying is what the world needs is people who are lit up, people who are joyful, people who are peaceful. I mean, if everyone in the world was feeling good about themselves and feeling joyful and peaceful and happy, then none of this shit would be happening. So I really, and this is something that you and I have talked about before, that actually the best thing that we can do for the world is to go inwards and make sure that we are feeling as good as we possibly can be, which some people are probably thinking, oh, well, that sounds really selfish, and how can I think about how I'm feeling with all the shit that's going on in the world? Well, actually, unless you're actually doing something about it, like, are you out there on the streets protesting? Unless you're actually doing something, then the next best thing that you can do is look at yourself and how you feel, because ultimately how you feel is what you are projecting out into the world, and what you are projecting out into the world is the impact that you are having on the world, you know, your energy. So again, you and I have talked about this many times before, how actually the best thing that we can do for a more peaceful world is to really double down on what brings us joy, because then we are radiating out those good vibes into this crazy fucking bonkers world that we're living in, you know?
I will only ever recommend brands that I know, love, and use myself. And one of those is Ancient and Brave. Honestly, they've become part of my daily habits. The very first thing I do every morning is pour myself a big glass of water with their true hydration in it. It feels like such a simple ritual, but it really sets me up for the day. And I know I'm properly rehydrating with their blend of electrolytes and minerals, especially before I exercise, which I always do in the morning. Then later on, when I make my coffee, I stir in their true collagen powder into the coffee. Now, it blends in straight away, no fuss, there's no taste, and collagen is something we naturally lose as we age, but it's so important for our skin, joints, and overall vitality. Now, I'll be honest, Ancient and Brave may cost a little more than some of the tubs you'll spot on supermarket shelves, but the difference is you're getting the highest quality ingredients, sourced with integrity and tested to a higher standard, and absolutely no nasties added. That's why I trust them and why I think they're worth every penny. And because I want you to be able to try them out for yourself, I've got a special offer for you. As a listener of this podcast, you can get 20% off your very first order, All you need to do is click the link in the show notes and pop in the code POLLYW20 at checkout. They've got more than just collagen and hydration too. They've got creatine, they've got blends, supplements. So it's a perfect chance to explore their range and make the most of that 20% off. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? How just getting outside and how it can just totally shift how you feel. And I've really noticed this more than anything this last month, because normally in the normal world, when I'm fit and healthy and everything's working well with my body, I walk the dog pretty much every day, twice a day, and I'm so spoiled where I live. I've got the sea on one side and I've got the South Downs on the other side. So my nervous system has become so used to getting out and seeing big views and being in that nature.
Yeah.
And it just makes me feel good. And as you say, it's the best regulator of a nervous system, because if you think, that's how we've evolved, being outside in nature. That's how we're supposed to.
Yeah.
That's how
we are nature.
Growing. Yeah, exactly. And actually, this last month with my knee injury, I haven't been able to do a lot of that because I just can't walk the dog at the moment, because I just can't walk fast enough with the dog. So I will. I can't tell you how much I've missed going up the South Downs. I cannot tell. But it's weird the effect that has on you when you're so used to doing it, because it is so good for you. So I do hobble down to the sea. I'm so fortunate that is at the end of my road, so I get to see that big expanse. And honestly, the effect that has is unbelievable. It is so powerful, because it reminds you, as you said, that there is something much bigger than yourself and much more powerful. On a really windy day, that sea is big and angry and mad, and you think, wow, you have to respect the sea. And then on other days, it's beautiful and calm and wonderful, and it really is an amazing thing to do for your nervous system, just to get out and experience it. And then also the other thing is, if you do live in the middle of a city, you can just appreciate a tree, a flower. You just have to look at a flower, at a rose, or at any flower, and see the incredible symmetry of it, and how how has that just grown from nowhere? It is so unbelievable. It really is a wow when you look at the detail and how perfect it is. And, that is a greater force at play right there. And we often just don't notice it, and we just go by it. But actually, just stop and look and appreciate the wonder and the amazing power in just in a leaf, in a flower. I mean, it really is quite amazing. And it does remind you that we are these little tiny people going about our days, and actually you can start putting everything back into perspective. And it just really does, it does help, and to remind you that, yes, the craziness is there at the moment, but hopefully it will pass. And as but we just need to look after ourselves and find the joy and wherever we can. And what it really does, it just helps you to really come back into the present, into the now, more than anything. Because the more that we can do that, the less we're going to start, the less we're going to be worrying about what might happen, because it hasn't happened yet. We don't know what's going to happen or what has happened. We can just bring ourselves into that moment, look at the wonder. So I love it. I think you've just got to notice the stuff. We're all so bloody busy wandering around, not noticing. So the more you can just notice and be present, it makes you feel good.
Yeah,
as simple as that, really.
100%. And also, you use the word perspective, and that's the thing about it. I think that's one of the main things about it is nature really does, put things back into perspective. And going back to the kingfisher, that this incredible, and there are probably some people rolling their eyes going, "Oh my God, bloody hell, here they go again." But actually, fuck it, because like looking at that kingfisher, I swear to God, it is the most stunningly beautiful bird you have ever seen. I mean, they are gorgeous. I mean, admittedly, I didn't get to go up close and stare at it, like, because of course they, I had to be very, very still, and then it flew away. But I got some video and I got a couple of photos and I sort of zoomed in, and they are just the most stunning birds. And going back to the Northern Lights, I think when you see something like that, a display of nature like that, it just really, really does put everything in perspective. Because again, you realize that, us humans we are not the most powerful things. We are just not. We think we are, but we're not. Nature is in charge, always has been, always will be. And also, I think one thing that's really, again, if you're feeling scared, you're feeling anxious about what's going on in the world, I think another thing to, think about is if you look at the world, if you sort of imagine yourself zooming out and looking down at the world, at planet Earth, when you look at it from space, like, we are literally these tiny, tiny specks. We're just so tiny, and yeah, we can't, what many of the things that are happening in the world at the moment are really not ideal, but actually the truth is that we are just these tiny specks of a moment in time. And we're here today, we're gone tomorrow. Everyone on the earth right now is going to be gone pretty much in 100 years. We're all going to be dead and gone. So, like, why are we worrying, ultimately? And I just think sometimes thinking about that view of planet Earth from space, it just puts it in perspective. But going back to what you were saying about, a flower. I talked about Johnny, my cat, before, and I just sometimes look at him every goddamn day because he's amazing. But, I sometimes really look at his markings and you just think, my God, when you look at nature and you just allow yourself to, it's really finding that awe. I think we because of the nature of the world that we live in, we forget about awe. We lose our childlike wonder. And awe and childlike wonder are so important to hold on to. They get bashed out of us by the time we're about, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whenever that is, whenever that age is where we kind of start losing that childlike wonder and we start losing that ability to feel awe. We have to cultivate that. I think it's genuinely important to be able to look at a sunset and just go, holy shit, just look at that. Because the number of us that are just walking around our days missing these things in nature, these incredible things happening in nature around us. And yes, like you say, some people live in the middle of a big city, but we can all find some kind of green space, most of us. And many of us live in the countryside, and, it really does put things in perspective. So yeah, I just think it's worth being mindful of that and really seeing if you can tune into that, and every day, again, to regulate your nervous system,
Because there's been, if you think about a time when you've been traveling or been away somewhere, or you go and visit somewhere and there's a really amazing view, everybody loves a great big view because it does something to us, because it is that sense of like, wow, this is just so beautiful, and so it just makes you feel something. That is me, but I think most people, there's always viewpoints around the world, and you get, people go and take their cameras and see the views, because it is bloody amazing when you get,
and also because it does put you in perspective, because it makes you, ultimately it makes us feel small. It makes us realize how insignificant we are in comparison to the world.
Yes. Yeah, it does. Absolutely. So it's, and that is a good thing. And I suppose, in terms of the power of nature as well, often, and we're sadly going to see more and more of this with global warming, but that, we are affected by these big storms or flooding or heat waves, or, the weather is a massive part of all of this as well, because that just again reminds us that we are not in control. We can't control the weather. Hopefully we can do something about reducing global warming, but the weather, is the weather. So if the big storm's coming, that again is a reminder, right? You've got to respect the thing that is bigger than us. But again, you can use that to put it all into perspective, and just do what you can to as you said, be happy and look for the joy and feel good, and go and seek out moment like springtime. Honestly, springtime is, I know autumn's your favorite season, but I think springtime for me is one of mine, because soon we're going to get all the snowdrops, and we're going to get the daffodils.
I saw snowdrops this morning, by the way.
Did you? Oh,
I did.
See that? So I was having a debate with Giles yesterday about how he was saying, I was saying January, I think, for me is probably my worst month. And he was going, oh, no, February. I was like, no, definitely not February, because in February, we suddenly get more light in the mornings, and quite significantly here. It does suddenly, by the end of February, we've got lighter evenings, lighter mornings. You get all the spring flowers coming through. And that just brings me so much joy, like the snowdrops and the daffodils. And so, again, it's just noticing the seasons, noticing what's changing. And because we are part of it, we are cyclical beings as well. And really at this time of year, we are supposed to be slightly hibernating. We're not in our summer mode where we're out there and being like, woohoo, everything. We are, it's
my least favorite season.
Summer. Well, there we go.
No, I love them. I love them all, but
yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it? How we respond to each of the seasons as well, because actually some of us are more summer, some of us are more winter.
Yeah.
So it's just tuning in with that as well. How I think, again, we're so disconnected, so many of us, from ourselves, because we just are these sort of like these machines now going through life on autopilot, pushing, that we've lost the ability to really connect with ourselves and what feels good, and how we should be moving through the world. And a lot of that is these days through listening to the signs and signals of when we should slow down, when we need to rest or a bit more, when we need to hibernate a bit more, or when we need to go, woo, out we go,
And also, one thing that's just occurred to me is we have to, when it comes to, this whole conversation, we're talking about the fact that, the power of nature and just looking at nature and noticing nature really, really can put things in perspective during these really scary times. And I've completely lost my train of thought. I was going to say, it'll come back to me. I know what I was going to say. I think, speaking about, or just thinking about like phones and the news and all of this stuff, I think we have to take responsibility for ourselves. We have to notice, because, going back to what I was talking earlier about the situation in the US and what's going on with ICE, and it was just absolutely fucking horrifying to me. But I have to take responsibility because if I wanted, I could sit on my phone and I could just watch videos all goddamn day. I could watch people talking about it. I could watch people crying about it. I could watch the videos from every angle, multiple times, of both the killings, if I wanted to. And I'm sure many of us do that, myself included, because I've been so horrified by what's happened with Renee Good and this guy, Alex Pretty. And it is so horrifying that it is difficult to turn away. And of course, the powers that be of Instagram and all the rest of it know how incredibly addictive these social media apps are. It's terrifying. And particularly when it comes to these kinds of news stories, that it's really hard to look away. But I think we have to take responsibility for our own consumption. And we have to realize when actually, of course we want to be informed, and of course we want to know what's going on, but there has to come a point where we go, okay, I can feel now in my body, I can feel that it's enough now. It's enough now. I have to walk away from it. It doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you've forgotten about it. But there comes a point, I think, where you have to recognize it in yourself, because no one else is going to say, stop scrolling, stop doom scrolling. You have to take responsibility for you. So I think, and actually, coming back to the topic at hand today, is maybe what you need to do is put the goddamn phone down and go out for a walk in nature. That doesn't mean you don't care. It just means that you also care about yourself, and you know what your limits are. And it's, I think we all have a pretty good idea of how damaging spending endless hours on social media can be. for all of us, particularly when it comes to really, really, really negative things happening in the world. So yeah, we just have to take responsibility for knowing when we've watched enough, we've listened to enough, we've seen enough. And now it's time to like reset our nervous system, get out there, go and, sit in a fucking field, go down to the sea, go to a park, whatever it is. Go and look for a kingfisher.
Yeah.
That'll make you feel better.
You never ever regret some time outside, whatever the weather. If it's pissing down with rain, great. You still go outside. You'll still feel alive. That's when actually you feel better. Alive.
You feel even more. Yeah, you feel it's even more amazing when you finish a really blustery, rainy, wet, horrible walk.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You just feel alive, and it just kind of it blows away the cobwebs. It really does. It just kind of resets you so that you're ready to go back. We all know that when you sit in front of screens for too long, you feel just really shit about it, everything. It's not good for us. And that is because it's not good for us. So, I think just the more we can be outside, the more we can be in nature, the more we can appreciate it, open our eyes, be present in it, then it's only going to do us good, and remind ourselves that we are part of it all, and to really appreciate that the smallness of us and the bigness of all of everything else is incredible. So yes, I think it's amazing. I mean, you just have to go and watch David Attenborough and one of those nature programs to be like, whoa, it's just so nuts how these even like little amoeba in the sea survive. And it's all you just that if you want to be inspired, just go and watch David Attenborough about something, one of his programs. It's just unbelievable.
And also, I mean, totally, I couldn't agree more. But also, I think, it reminds us that there is a higher power at play. And so if we are feeling really scared by what certain humans are doing in the world at the moment, when we tune into nature, we remind ourselves that actually there is something so much bigger than all of us. Mm-hmm. So much bigger than every single one of us. And I think that is the perspective that we need. It's almost like that kind of grounds you. And I think that can help with any feelings of fear or anxiety, just to remind ourselves that there is a power that is so much bigger than any human on this planet. I think that can really help, just to bring that anxiety down, and just to make us feel slightly less fearful, just to remember that, yes, it does seem, there are crazy things going on, and there are crazy fucking lunatic mental cases in the world doing crazy lunatic things. But even they, there is a power way bigger than them. So I think we just have to remember that, really. Anywho,
well, I think that's probably a good place to end. So yeah.
Well, thanks, love. We'll be back. We'll be back this time next week talking about God knows what.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, and
we'll be back next week.
All right,
lots of love.
Okay.
Bye. Bye. Bye.